Hi everyone, welcome to this video on the use of negative numbers or directed numbers, where we're going to be looking at 4 questions here that have got some positive and some negative values in them, and we've got to use the 4 following rules to work out the correct answers. Now you've probably seen this in class before, and I'm going to write this down as quickly as I can. A positive sign and a positive sign have the overall effect of positive. A negative sign and a negative sign have the overall effect of positive. And then one of each, so positive and negative, or negative and positive, have the effect of a negative overall. Or as I like to remember it, if they're the same, it's plus, and if they're different, it's minus. But then we've got to think about how we're going to use those rules and when we're going to use those rules. And it's kind of simple, but there's a lot to take on board here and practice with. There's 2 rules. One, if the symbols are next to each other when adding and subtracting, we use these rules. Or 2, if we're multiplying and dividing, we always use the rules. So let's have a look at applying that to these questions. So the first question says negative 3, subtract another 2. So my first question is, am I timesing and dividing, or am I adding and subtracting? Now because I'm adding and subtracting, there's no multiplication, there's no division here. To use the rules of negatives, the signs have got to be next to each other. These 2 negatives are not next to each other, not like having a look further down the question below. So this question's actually got nothing to do with the rules of negative numbers. This just says you're starting at negative 3 and you take another 2 away. So really useful here if you draw out yourself a number line. I like to think of questions like this, like temperature. So it's minus 3 degrees, so it's quite cold, and then it goes down another 2 degrees. So we're going to end up at minus 5. Question number 2 here, we've got 7. And we know that's a positive 7, we just don't need to write the plus sign in maths. Minus minus 4, so I'm saying 2 signs there next to each other without anything interrupting them. So this is when the rules do kick in. Minus and minus makes plus. So what we actually have there is the overall effect of an addition question. And I've always struggled to think why a minus and a minus make a plus, and I kind of use the idea of temperature and air conditioning in a room. So if I take out minus cold air, so if I take out cold air from a room, the overall effect of the temperature is it goes up. So 2 minuses increase, they add to the overall temperature in the room. So we end up with 7, add another 4, is positive 11, and you can write the plus sign in front if you want, but it's kind of common convention where we don't. That 11 just indicates that it's a positive number. Now on question number 3 here, we're multiplying, and the rules always count where we're multiplying. So I like to do these questions in 2 stages. The first thing I do is just multiply the digits. So I'm going to do 3 multiplied by 6. 3 6s are 18. And then the 3 is negative, and the 6 is negative as well. And a negative make a positive, so the answer is positive 18. Question number 4, we've got 2 things going on in this one. We've got a division and we've got a multiplication. So we're going to do the brackets first because we're going to have to follow the rules of BIDMAS. And if you're a bit confused on that, watch the video on the channel about BIDMAS. So we're going to do negative 40 divided by negative 10. So just like the one above, let's sort out the digits first. So 40 divided by 10, how many 10s into 40? Well, that's 4. The 40 was negative and the 10 was negative. So negative and negative make positive. So it's positive 4 as that part of the question, and then I've got multiplied by negative 2. So 4 multiplied by 2 is 8. Positive and negative make negative, so the answer is negative 8. This is one of those parts of maths that's really, really important because you're going to be using these skills in algebra, in graphing, in lots of other areas. So if you're feeling confident or you kind of think you get what I've said to you there, I think it's going to be useful at this stage to do some practice questions. So stop the video, have a go at the questions, and then press play again and we'll go through some of these answers. Okay, first question then. 2 negatives, but they're not next to each other, so this has got nothing to do with the rules of negative numbers. This just says I'm at negative 5 and I subtract 9 from it. So on our number line, we're at negative 5 and we go down another 9 places. Or think about it like temperature, it's minus 5 degrees, so really cold, and then it drops another 9, so it's going to get even colder. So it's going to drop down to minus 14. Question number 2, there's a negative and there's a positive, but they're not written next to each other. There's this 7 in between. So this again has got nothing to do with negative numbers. This just says it's minus 7 degrees, so really, really cold this time, but I add 11, it comes up 11 degrees, it warms up by 11 degrees. So I'm at -7 on my number line, but I add 11, I come up 11 spaces. So I end up at +4. Number 3, the two negatives here are next to each other, so this does have something to do with the rules. So you've got to remember back to your rules that a negative and a negative make a positive. So the question actually now reads 11 plus 8, which is 19. Number 4 here, there's loads of signs in this one, so we're trying to look for the signs that are next to each other. So there's two negatives here, and we've just said that a negative and a negative right next to each other make a positive. I've then got this negative and this positive, but they're not next to each other, so that's got nothing to do with the rules of negatives. So this just says -9, so I'm right down at a very, very cold temperature. Add 5, so it comes up 5 degrees, so it's -4. Okay, this is now a multiplication question, so it doesn't matter whether they're next to each other or not, we just use the rules. So I'm going to do 4 times 3, which is 12. The 4 is negative. The 3 actually doesn't say, so we know that it's a positive number and they just haven't written the positive sign. So negative and positive make negative. So -12. Number 6, -5 times -3, so 5 3s are 15. Negative and negative is positive, so +15. Number 7, 6 times -4, so 6 4s are 24. Positive and negative makes negative. And then finally number 8 here, 18 divided by -6, so 6 is into 18, go 3 times. The 18 is positive, the 6 is negative, positive and negative makes negative. Thanks very much for watching.